Greetings, everyone, and happy spooky season. Welcome to Back to Ashes. My name is Phoenix. To the elite members, thank you for your dedicated love and support. You know, I always reciprocate the feeling. With that being said, it is now time to go back to ashes, for once we arise from the ashes, we are a bigger, brighter, stronger, and a happier person every day. So, sit back, relax, kick back, grab a snack, or tuck in and get warm, and prepare for your dose of vocal melatonin entitled A Disturbing Halloween. Right after this intro, there will be an ad. I'll read the first story, there will be an ad. And after that, there will be no ads within this video. If you are new to the channel and you begin to hear what you like, please leave a like, comment, or a hype to the video. If you would like to join the Back to Ashes family, please hit that subscribe button and make sure you set your bell notification to all. That way you know every time I upload a video. Let's get started, shall we? My name is Lydia. I'm 30 years old, and I love celebrating Halloween with my best friend, Martha. Martha and I have been best friends ever since we were 10 years old. We do everything together, and I wouldn't be where I am today without her. You see, when I was 7 years old, my father passed away from battling leukemia. I was so heartbroken that I thought I would never be okay again. But then I met Martha, and thank God I did. My friendship with her means everything to me. This year, Martha and I were invited to a Halloween costume party thrown by her boyfriend, Steve. 1 week before the party, we decided to go to a costume shop to find the perfect outfit. We planned to dress up as our own versions of our favorite fictional characters. Martha is a big fan of Disney's Peter Pan, so she decided to go as Tinkerbell. I, on the other hand, am a big, huge fan of horror movies, especially The Bride of Frankenstein. So I decided to dress up as my own version of the bride. For my costume, I chose a white wig with black lightning streaks, a black dress with a gray corset, and black platform sandals. I wanted to look unique at this party. While I was trying on my costume in the dressing room, I heard the sound of a young boy laughing outside. I stepped out to investigate, but no one was there. I figured I must have been hearing things and shrugged it off until I turned around and looked down. That's when I saw it. A little boy doll with short brown hair and big blue eyes. The doll was about 4 feet tall, wearing an orange trench coat over a green turtleneck sweater. It struck me as odd. Martha and I were in a costume shop. They didn't sell toys here. So what was a doll like this doing there? The doll seemed to stare directly into my soul. Uneasy but curious, I walked over and picked it up. Immediately, I noticed something strange. Unlike most dolls, this one was completely weightless. It felt as light as tinfoil. Then I realized there weren't any other dolls like it anywhere in the store. And the most disturbing part was that, as I held it, its big blue eyes seemed to follow me wherever I moved. Feeling unsettled, I decided to put it down. But just as I was about to set it on the ground and go find Martha, the doll's eyes blinked. Its smile twisted into a menacing grin. Then, in a dark, raspy voice, it spoke. "Hello, Lydia. It's been a long time. How have you been?" I screamed and dropped the doll, staring at it in horror. I didn't understand what was happening, only that the doll was alive. Slowly, it stood up on its own 2 feet and looked at me with those wide blue eyes. I thought I must be losing my mind. I kept whispering to myself, "This isn't happening. This is just in your head." But then the doll smiled again and said, "What's the matter, Lydia? Aren't you happy to see me again?" I froze. It knew my name. Who are you?" I asked. "How do you know who I am?" "Don't you remember me, Lydia?" the doll said. "You should know me better than anyone. After all, You're the one who created me, remember? I stared at it, confused. What do you mean? Who are you? It's me, Lydia, the doll replied. It's your old pal, Riley. Don't tell me you've forgotten about me after all these years. I shook my head. I don't know anybody named Riley. Yes, you do, the doll said. Before Martha came along, I was your very best friend in the whole world. Cut it out, I snapped. I don't know who or what you are, but I've heard enough. Go away. Come now, Lydia, Riley said, pulling a cigarette from his pocket. Have a smoke. It might calm you down. I don't want a cigarette from you, I shouted. Just leave me alone. Riley smirked, lit the cigarette, and took a long drag. Then, blowing smoke into the air, he said, Suit yourself. If you don't want a cigarette, then what do you say we get out of here and have some fun? What do you mean? I asked. Come with me and find out, he said, holding out his hand. No, I'm not going anywhere with you, Riley. I squeezed my eyes shut and covered my ears. This isn't real. Living dolls don't exist. But Riley's voice echoed inside my head. That won't work, Lydia. Deep down, you know the truth about me. You know that no matter what you do, and no matter where you go, I'll always be there for you. I could hear him laughing, his voice growing louder and louder, until suddenly a familiar voice broke through. Lydia, is everything okay? I opened my eyes and saw Martha standing there in her green Tinkerbell costume. Riley was gone. There was no trace of him. Not wanting to worry her, I told her I had a panic attack while trying on my costume. I didn't mention Riley. After we finished shopping, Martha drove me home. As we pulled into my driveway, I froze. Riley was standing in front of my garage, hands behind his back, that same sinister grin on his face. Stop the car, I shouted. Martha slammed the brakes, looking alarmed. I jumped out and stormed toward Riley. Listen, Riley, I hissed. I don't know who or what you are, but if you don't leave me and my friend alone, you're going to be sorry. Riley chuckled. Oh, you mean your real friend, Martha? The one you replaced me with? What's that supposed to mean? I demanded. Martha got out of the car and tapped my shoulder. Lydia, who are you talking to? I turned to her, confused. I'm talking to this evil doll, Riley. He has brown hair, blue eyes, an orange trench coat, and a green sweater. Don't you see him? Martha's expression went blank. She looked where I was pointing, then back at me. Lydia, there's no doll standing there. I spun around. Riley was gone. Martha, I swear he was just right here. She shook her head gently. You need to get some rest. But then I saw him again, sitting on the hood of Martha's car, grinning. He's right there, I screamed. Don't you see him? See what, Lydia? She asked softly. That was it. I marched over to Riley, trembling with anger. Why can't Martha see you? He smiled and motioned me closer. I hesitated, then leaned in. His whisper sent chills down my spine. Because, Lydia, imaginary friends can only be seen by the dead and the person who created them. Since you're the one who created me, only you can see me. My breath caught. No, I whispered. You're lying. I never had an imaginary friend. Actually, you did, Riley said. You created me right after your father died. Don't you remember?" And suddenly, I did. Memories flooded back. I saw myself as a grieving little girl playing with a boy named Riley, someone only I could see. He appeared right after my father's death. At first, he was comforting, and then he began to change. He told me to steal from my mother's purse, to start fights, even to smoke a cigarette when I was 9. Eventually, I grew afraid of him. I made a new friend instead, Martha, and Riley faded from my memory, until now. "Okay, Riley," I said shakily. "If you're my imaginary friend, then why are you here now?" Riley grinned, pulling a long, sharp knife from behind his back. "It's like I told you, Lydia. No matter what you do, no matter where you go, you'll never be rid of me. You don't think I'd let you go to a costume party without your imaginary friend, did you?" I froze as he stepped toward me. "Halloween is a special day," he said softly. "It's a day when anything supernatural can happen. A day when I can do whatever I want, such as this." And with that, Riley vanished. I stood there trembling, looking around wildly. Then I heard Martha scream. I turned just in time to see her collapse, a knife buried deep in her back. I caught her as she fell. The shock must have broken whatever veil kept her from seeing him, because as she gasped for air, her eyes widened in horror. "Oh my God," she whispered. "He's real. You were telling the truth." Moments later, she went still in my arms. I looked up at Riley, tears streaming down my face. "Why, Riley? Why did you do this?" He smiled, pressing the knife under my chin. "Because, Lydia, I'm the only friend you'll ever need. Now that Martha's gone, we can play our favorite game again. Hide and seek. Are you ready to play, Lydia?" That Halloween night, my imaginary friend came back into my life and made it clear that this time he planned on staying with me for the rest of eternity, so that I'd never forget him again. Confidential Incident Report, Bridgewater County, 1998. Classified Incident Report, Blackout Gas Event, Bridgewater County, Ohio, 1998. Document ID, EBA 9417B. Classification, Level 5, Restricted Access, issued by U.S. Department of Civil Defense, Emergency Broadcast Administration. Date, March 19, 1998. Subject, unidentified atmospheric contamination and civil disturbance, Bridgewater County, Ohio. Forward. At approximately 1900 hours on March 17, 1998, Bridgewater County, population 4,212, experienced a total electrical blackout, accompanied by the release of an unidentified airborne irritant. Reports indicate that unmarked armed personnel entered the area shortly thereafter. All communications ceased within 17 minutes of the first emergency broadcast. The following file contains the only recovered materials from the Bridgewater event: an incident timeline compiled from emergency dispatch logs, a partial transcript of the 97.8 FM emergency broadcast intercepted during the blackout, the first handwritten statement of one survivor, designated survivor, recovered near the county border 3 days later. This document remains unverified but crucial to understanding the nature of the Bridgewater blackout. Section 1, Incident Timeline, 1845. Routine power fluctuations reported in Bridgewater and surrounding townships. Local utilities attribute the cause to a substation surge. 1859. 911 dispatch receives multiple calls reporting a gas smell and fog rolling in from Mill Road. 1900. Streetlights fail simultaneously. Total blackout across the county grid. 1902. First confirmed civilian casualty. Caller reports men in black gear dragging someone into a van near the pharmacy. 1904. Police attempt to deploy patrol units. Communication with dispatch is lost within 2 minutes. 1907. Radio frequency 97.8 FM overrides all other local channels with emergency broadcast system tones. 1910. Gas density recorded by the state weather station as off the measurable scale. 1911 to 1929. Witnesses outside the county described seeing lights flickering in waves, pale fog, and muffled pops like fireworks. 1932. All phone lines to Bridgewater are cut. 2000 onward. Silence. Section 2. Emergency broadcast transcript. Recovered audio fragment 97.8 FM, 1907 to 1915. EAS tone sequence repeating. This is a national emergency. Please remain calm. Static. Male voice continues. The following message is transmitted at the request of the United States government. An unknown airborne contaminant has been detected in your area. Effective immediately, shelter in place. Do not attempt to leave your home. Rule 1. Seal windows and doors with any available material. Towels, plastic, tape, anything. Rule 2. Do not engage with individuals wearing unmarked uniforms or masks. They are not authorized personnel. Rule 3. If your power returns, do not turn on the lights. Visibility attracts attention. Rule 4. Should you hear knocking, do not respond. Brief silence, distorted female voice joins. Additional guidance will follow at 1930. Maintain radio contact. Static for 17 seconds. This message will repeat until termination. EAS tones resumes. Pitch fluctuates unnaturally. Transmission looped until 1915, after which data indicates unrecognized modulation patterns, possible hijacking. Section 3, recovered testimony, survivor. Handwritten account recovered from a resident on County Road 12. Bloodstains present, portions reconstructed from context. Begin testimony. March 17, 1998, 6:57 p.m. The radio cut out mid-song. I remember that clearly because it was playing Third Eye Blind, that new one they keep overplaying. Then the siren started. Not the tornado one. Something else. Lower and slower, like a groan that came from underground. I thought it was a test until the power went out. Everything. Street lights, fridge, even the ceiling fan. Stopped at once. I went to the window, but I couldn't see a thing beyond the porch. The air looked thicker. At 7:02, the phone rang once and died. Then the radio crackled back on by itself. That's when I heard the emergency broadcast. The voice sounded calm, too calm. My skin prickled when it said, "Do not respond to knocking." I remember thinking, knocking? By the time the broadcast looped, there was already a faint hiss coming from under the front door. The smell hit next, chemical and sweet, like burnt plastic. I stuffed towels under the frame and tried to breathe through my shirt. 7:15 p.m. Something was moving outside. I thought it was a neighbor at first, until I saw them under the streetlight glow, before it died again. They wore gas masks and all black gear. No patches, no names. They moved in threes, checking houses, dragging people out. I went to the basement. There's a battery-powered radio down there, and it kept repeating the same 4 rules. I listened until the message changed. 7:31 p.m. The tone skipped, and then the same male voice said something new. Rule 5. If you hear the siren again, cover your ears and lie face down. Do not look at the windows. I don't remember that rule before. I checked again, rewound the tape. Nothing. It just appeared. 7:45 p.m. I heard screams, muffled by the fog, the kind of screams people make when they don't understand what's happening. I peeked through the basement window. The fog glowed faintly green in the streetlight, and there were figures moving through it, some crawling, some stumbling, some just standing perfectly still, facing the wrong direction. One of the black-suited men shot someone who ran out of a house. No warning, no hesitation. I turned off the flashlight. 8:10 p.m. The radio spoke again. The voice wasn't calm anymore. It was faster, glitching. Remain calm. Stay inside. Stay indoors. Stay indoors. Rule 6. If you're still hearing this, you are not alone. Do not trust that voice. Then, static. After that, I couldn't tell if the rules were from the government anymore, or from something else. 8:30 p.m. I started to feel dizzy. The gas must have leaked in. I wrapped my face in a wet rag. Through the basement vent, I could hear footsteps above me. Someone or something walking through my house. Slow and deliberate. Every few seconds, a metallic click. Then came the knocking. Not on the door, on the basement ceiling. 3 knocks. Pause. 2 knocks. I didn't answer. A muffled male voice said, "This is the fire department. You can come out." I almost believed him until I realized the radio had said not to engage with unmarked personnel. The gas mask shadow under the basement door told me enough. I waited until the footsteps went away. 9 p.m. The broadcast returned. Same voice but lower quality, as if transmitted through a bad phone line. Rule 7. If you make it past midnight, stay awake. Do not fall asleep. They come through the dreams first. That's when I realized whoever was sending these rules wasn't trying to help us survive the night. They were describing stages. I tried to ignore the gas smell, but it was seeping in thicker. My eyes burned. I taped the vents shut. That's when I noticed something new on the radio. Background noise that sounded like breathing. 10:12 p.m. The power flickered, just for a moment. I remembered the rule. Do not turn on lights. But it wasn't me turning them on. The bulbs glowed faintly red, like something pulsing through the wires. I heard voices from the hallway above. Different ones now. Familiar ones. My mother's voice, but she's been gone 10 years. Calling my name, asking me to open the door. I almost did. Then the radio screamed and said, "If they sound familiar, they are not your loved ones." My hands were shaking so badly, I nearly dropped the radio. 11 p.m. The gas smell was fading, replaced by something else. Ozone. Like before a thunderstorm. I crept upstairs. The front door was open a crack. Outside, the fog had lifted, and bodies lined the street like broken mannequins. The black-suited men were gone. The radio hissed again. Rule 8. Do not step outside until sunrise. I looked at my watch. 11:02. I had an hour left. I sat on the floor, hugging my knees, watching the dark through the crack of the door. At 11:30, I started hearing the siren again. Faint, distant, like underwater. Remembering Rule 5, I covered my ears and lay flat. The sound made my teeth vibrate. 11:47 p.m. The lights flickered on one last time, just enough for me to see movement by the porch. A figure stood there, same gas mask, same gear, but its head was tilted too far to one side, like it was listening. It raised a hand and pointed directly at me through the window. The siren cut off. The radio clicked. Final rule: if you're hearing this, Bridgewater is no longer under our control. Survive until dawn. Then, nothing. 12:03 a.m. The lights died. The fog returned. I went back to the basement and started writing this because I need someone to know what happened here. If this gets found, follow the rules, but understand, they change. They always change. There's a new sound now. Tapping from behind the furnace. It sounds like metal on concrete. I think something's inside the vent. I'm not going to check. I can hear breathing again, and the radio isn't on. If anyone's out there... Sentence trails off. Section 4, Postscript. The above pages were recovered on March 20th, 1998, by a CDC decontamination unit approximately 2 miles from the Bridgewater town limits. No human remains were located at the address on County Road 12. Subsequent air analysis revealed no trace of known chemical agents. Radiation and biological tests were inconclusive. All surviving broadcast archives for 97.8 FM were erased from federal storage systems in 2001. However, on September 5, 2008, the same frequency reportedly activated again across several Midwestern states for 6 minutes, repeating one phrase in distorted radio. Rule 1. Stay calm, stay indoors. Do not answer the knocking. Investigation pending. End of file. Have you ever heard something you weren't supposed to? I'm not talking about an overheard whisper in a darkened alleyway or a hushed conversation you accidentally eavesdropped on. No, this was different. This was something impossible. Something that shouldn't exist yet. Something from the future. I did. And now, I don't think I have much time left. It started 2 nights ago. I was up late. Too late. Mindlessly flipping through stations on my old radio. The kind with a stiff turning dial and a scratched-up casing. The kind you don't really see anymore. I found it at a garage sale months back, drawn to its nostalgic charm, and ever since, it had become my companion during long, restless nights. I'm one of those people who need background noise while working, static-filled music, late-night talk shows, even those strange, distant signals that flicker in and out of dead frequencies. But that night, something different came through. At first, it was barely a whisper beneath the crackle of empty airwaves, a thin, ghostly hum fighting to be heard. I almost ignored it, almost turned the dial again. But then, this is an emergency alert for all residents. This is not a test. I froze. The voice wasn't like the usual robotic warnings I'd heard before. It was off, slower, almost hesitant, like it was being forced out against some invisible resistance. A deep mechanical distortion coded every word, stretching them out unnaturally. Please listen carefully. This broadcast is coming from the future. A nervous chuckle slipped from my lips. A joke. Had to be. Some underground station having fun with the late-night listeners. Maybe a creepy pasta-inspired prank, trying to get under people's skin. But then the voice came again. If you are hearing this, You have less than 24 hours. They are already here. They are watching. A shiver ran down my spine. Then came a sudden burst of static, deafening, swallowing everything. The radio hissed like a living thing before cutting off entirely. I just sat there, staring at the radio, my fingers clenched tight around the armrest of my chair, the tremble in my hands betraying the fear I didn't want to acknowledge. It had to be fake, some weird experimental transmission, a trick, a hoax, something, anything. But no matter how much I tried to convince myself, the unease crawled beneath my skin, settling deep into my bones. I grabbed my phone and checked the time. 12:03 a.m. A perfectly ordinary moment in a perfectly ordinary night. And yet, nothing felt ordinary anymore. With a shaky breath, I switched the radio off, buried myself under my blankets, and squeezed my eyes shut. I forced my mind to push it away, to label it as nothing more than late-night paranoia. I was wrong. I didn't want to hear anything else. I turned everything off and headed to my room. I lay in bed. My eyelids were heavy, my body sinking into the mattress, exhaustion pulling at me like unseen hands. The strange radio broadcast from earlier still lingered in my mind. But I had almost convinced myself it was nothing, just a hoax, a trick of my overtired brain. I was just about to sleep when, at approximately 2 a.m., my phone buzzed. A sharp, urgent vibration against my nightstand. My stomach twisted as I reached for it, dread pooling in my chest like ice, cold water. An emergency alert. But something was wrong. There was no test, no explanation, just a pulsing red notification swallowing the screen, beating like a heart. And then I saw the radio, sitting on the table near my bed. I didn't put it there. I knew I hadn't put it there. But it was there. Before I could even process what I was seeing, before I could breathe or react, it turned on. By itself. The dial didn't move. No one touched it. But the second the static cleared, the voice came through again, clearer this time, stronger. You ignored the first warning. A cold sensation slid down my spine, like icy fingers pressing into my skin. Do not acknowledge them. Do not answer if they knock. Do not let them in. A loud, ear-piercing screech of static ripped through the air, rattling the speakers. Then silence. The room felt unbearably still. And then, knock, knock, knock. A sharp, deliberate sound. I nearly dropped my phone. The knocking had come from my front door. I live alone. I wasn't expecting anyone. No one should be here. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. Knock, knock, knock. Again. It was slow, even, the kind of knocking that didn't ask for permission but announced its presence. I forced my legs to move, each step feeling heavier than the last. My breath felt too loud in the suffocating quiet. I reached the door and pressed my eye against the peephole. Nothing. No one was there, but the knocking continued. I backed away, heart hammering so hard I could feel it in my throat. My phone buzzed again. A new message. Do not look outside. My stomach twisted. A sick feeling spread through me like something was crawling beneath my skin. I couldn't resist. I moved toward the window, inching forward like something unseen was pressing against my chest. Slowly, carefully, I pulled the blinds back just enough to peek through. And I saw a man standing there. Or at least, I think it was a man. He stood on the sidewalk, directly facing my house, perfectly still. Too still. His posture was unnatural, rigid like a mannequin. His face was turned toward me, but he wasn't looking at me. His head was tilted at an impossible angle, as if something inside his neck had snapped. He wasn't moving, but he was there watching. My phone buzzed again. They know you see them. A breath caught in my throat. My hands went numb. I stumbled back from the window, yanking the blinds shut so hard they rattled. And then, the knocking stopped. But the silence that followed, it was worse. Much, much worse. I didn't sleep that night. How could I? I sat in my room, back pressed against the wall, gripping my phone so tightly my knuckles ached. My heart pounded in my chest, my breath shallow and uneven. I waited. I waited for another message, another warning, another sound that would prove I wasn't losing my mind. But nothing came. Hours crawled by, stretching endlessly as the darkness outside deepened. The house was suffocatingly silent, every shadow stretching too far, every sound making me flinch. When the sun finally rose, I let out a shaky breath. The golden light seeped through my window, washing over the room like a safety net, chasing away the night's horrors. And suddenly, it all felt stupid. Maybe it was a prank, but maybe some underground radio stunt designed to freak people out didn't. Maybe my mind was playing tricks on me, weaving fear into something bigger than it was. I told myself I was fine. I told myself it was over. But then, at exactly midnight, the radio switched on, by itself. The static was deafening, crackling like fire, growing louder and louder until, "This is your final warning." My entire body locked up. The voice was different now, heavier, darker. "They will come inside tonight. You must not run. You must not scream. You must not speak." I couldn't breathe. My chest tightened as if something invisible was pressing down on it. My fingers curled around my bedsheets, my body frozen in place. Then, bzz, my phone vibrated. I swallowed, hesitating, then slowly lowered my gaze. A message. "Do not let them take you." My stomach dropped. The screen flickered. Then it went completely black. At that exact moment, the lights in my house flickered. Once, twice, then, click. The front door unlocked by itself. A cold sweat broke out along my spine. My mouth went dry. I did not unlock that door, but it had opened. I grabbed the baseball bat leaning against my closet, clutching it so tightly my fingers ached. I didn't know if it would do anything, but I needed something. Anything. I backed into the furthest corner of my room, my entire body tense, ears straining for any sound. Then I heard them. Footsteps. Slow. Dragging. They weren't heavy, but they weren't light either. They sounded wrong, like something that wasn't entirely sure how to move properly. I clenched my jaw, biting down on the urge to scream. Then I heard breathing. Too slow, too deep, like someone trying to imitate what a human should sound like. Creak. A slow, agonizing creak echoed through the hallway. The floorboards groaned beneath them as they moved through the house. They were looking for me. My phone buzzed again. One last message. I didn't want to look. I didn't want to see what it said. But I did. "Do not blink." I stiffened. Then, a shadow, right outside my bedroom door. I could see it. A sliver of darkness beneath the gap. It didn't move. It didn't shift. It just stood there, waiting. I could hear my own heartbeat hammering in my skull, blood rushing through my ear so loudly it felt like a roar. And then it moved toward me, every cell in my body screaming for me to run, but I couldn't. My muscles refused to obey. And the warning, I couldn't ignore it. Do not blink. So I didn't. My eyes locked on the shadow, burning from the strain. Tears welled up, spilling down my cheeks, but I did not blink. I couldn't. And then the lights flickered. The radio let out a final burst of static. And just like that, they were gone. The shadow disappeared. The air went still. The house was empty. I don't know what would have happened if I had blinked, but I never want to find out. I don't know what happened that night. I don't know what they were, but I know one thing. I am still here. But something has changed. The radio? It doesn't work anymore. Every station is just dead air. My phone? It doesn't receive emergency alerts anymore. But last night, I looked outside. He was there, standing across the street. The same stiff posture, the same tilted head, waiting, watching. I don't think this is over, and I don't think I have much time left. Have you ever wondered if a place can breathe? Not the way trees rustle when the wind moves through them, or the cracks of old wood expanding in the sun. I mean really breathe, like the land itself is inhaling slowly, holding it in, waiting, watching. That's how Whispering Seasons Park felt the first time I stepped through its gate. The kind of silence that makes your skin itch. Like the quiet is just the sound of something holding its breath. Like it's been waiting for you. Not in a comforting way, but like a trap that's grown patient. And no, I didn't go there looking for thrills or nostalgia or some feel-good sensational vibes. I went because of a letter. It arrived on a Thursday. I remember that because it had been raining all morning and my cheap mailbox was leaking again. Most of the junk mail inside was soggy beyond recognition, but one envelope was bone dry. Plain white, no return address, no name. Just my apartment number written in blocky printed letters. I opened it, half expecting a scam or some cryptic coupon offer. Instead, I pulled out a single sheet of paper, folded twice, thick and yellowed like it came from an old filing cabinet. There was a faint, almost ghosted logo on the top. Whispering Seasons Park, now hiring for seasonal help. Beneath that, in clean black ink, we remember your application. A position has opened. 1 week, $7,000, housing included. You will follow the rules. Failure to follow them will result in immediate dismissal. I stared at it, read it again, then again. I'd never applied to any theme park. Hell, I hadn't even heard of one called Whispering Seasons. But I had just lost my job at the hardware store. My landlord was blowing up my phone about rent. I had $23.17 in my checking account. No prospects. No backup plan. There's a moment where fear stops feeling like panic and starts feeling like gravity. Like it's pulling you somewhere you don't want to go, but can't resist. That's what this felt like. At the bottom of the letter was an address and 7 rules. Rules for seasonal workers, Whispering Seasons Park. Number 1, you must not be outside between 2 a.m. and 3 a.m. Number 2, if a ride is running by itself, do not approach it. Number 3, do not enter the autumn hall after midnight, no matter what you hear. Number 4, if you hear laughter coming from the petting zoo, leave the area immediately. Number 5, Between 1 p.m. and 1:15 p.m., do not speak to anyone wearing green face paint. Number 6. If you find leaves falling indoors, follow them, but only if they're red. Number 7. The man in the harvest mask is not an employee. Do not make eye contact. It didn't look like a joke. It looked institutional, official, in that outdated kind of way, like it came from an office that hadn't updated its equipment since the 80s. My fingers hovered over the paper, tempted to crumple it, toss it, and walk away, but that desperate, broken, sleep-deprived part of me, the part that had started scanning Craigslist for plasma donation centers, had already made up its mind. So I packed my duffel bag. The next morning, I was driving through a narrow stretch of highway that curved like a snake through dense, mist-choked woods. No signs, no gas stations. Just a cold fog that seemed to press against the windows, like it was trying to get inside. And then I saw it. A rusted metal archway, half covered in vines, hidden behind trees like it had been trying to vanish from the world. Beneath the arch, hanging crookedly on a chain, was a weather-warped wooden sign. Staff only. That was it. No ticket booth, no welcome center, not even the name of the park. The moment I stepped through the gate, the wind stopped. Not slowed, stopped. The air went still, heavy, oppressive. It was like entering a vacuum sealed off from the rest of the world. Even the trees looked like they were holding their breath. He was waiting for me just inside the gate, a man in a brown uniform that looked starched and ancient, like it had survived a few world wars. His skin was pale, almost gray, and his smile, it didn't reach his eyes. They were glassy, unreadable, too still. "You're the new hire," he said, without any hint of question. He handed me a folded map and a dull gold pen that read, "Seasonal Crew," in small black letters. "I'm Vernon, management," he added, like it was a statement of fact, not an introduction. "Stick to your route, follow the rules, don't wonder." No paperwork, no ID check, no training, no safety briefing. Just Vernon pointing toward a dirt path behind the carousel and walking away. The staff dorm was a wooden cabin tucked behind that same rusting carousel. It looked like something out of a horror movie. Single bulb overhead, cracked windows, a mattress thinner than my willpower. No schedule, no list, just a clipboard on the nightstand that said task assignments will be delivered as needed. No shift time, no job title, just you'll work when we tell you to. It should have been enough to make me leave right then, but desperation fogs your instincts, makes you ignore the rotten smell under the floorboards because the room is free, makes you pretend you don't hear dragging footsteps outside your window at night because you really need that paycheck. That first night, nothing happened. I lay on the mattress, eyes fixed on the ceiling, counting slow seconds. The silence outside was so complete that even my own heartbeat sounded intrusive. Around 2 a.m., I remembered rule number 1. You must not be outside between 2 a.m. and 3 a.m. I stayed put, pulled the covers up and squeezed my eyes shut, but my ears didn't cooperate. Scrape, scuff. Footsteps, slow, uneven, dragging ones. I told myself it was the wind, maybe just the trees creaking, a stray animal, my imagination. I didn't sleep. By morning, I had convinced myself the rules were just for atmosphere, a way to keep workers in line, maybe. Psychological trickery. I told myself that until day 2. Day 2 began like a breath you don't remember taking. I woke up disoriented, if you could call what I did waking up. I hadn't really slept, more like hovered just beneath the surface of consciousness, too wired to dream, too drained to move. There was a new task note waiting outside my cabin, pinned to the door with a rusted nail. Summer District, trash plus sweep, 12 p.m. until finished. Do not leave assigned zone. Summer District was straight out of a dying carnival. Faded yellow booths lean like crooked teeth. Water rides coated in mildew, set dormant. Their once bright tubes sun-bleached and cracking. Plastic palm trees, bent and broken, waved in the absence of the wind. The whole place stank of hot rubber, old sugar, and something else underneath. Something metallic and wet. There were no guests, not one other employee in sight. Just that same eerie stillness hanging over everything, like the world had been paused. Even the seagulls seemed to avoid this place. I kept sweeping, eyes flicking between shadows and my watch, because Rule 5 haunted me more than I wanted to admit. Between 1 p.m. and 1:15 p.m., do not speak to anyone wearing green face paint. It was too specific, too real. Rules that don't come from nowhere. I checked my watch again. 12:59 p.m. The minute hand clicked forward like a loaded gun. At exactly 1:02 p.m., I saw him. He was standing at the far end of the midway, just beyond an abandoned hot dog stand. His entire face was painted green, sloppy and thick, like someone had used finger paint. Even his lips were coated. No expression. Not quite blank, but something close. Something broken. His mouth was slightly open. His eyes, wrong. Empty and still, like they hadn't blinked in a long time. He started walking toward me. Casual, slow steps. The kind of walk people use when they think they own the space between you. I looked down, pretended to sweep. My grip tightened on the broom. The muscles in my back screamed to run. But I kept moving, mechanically. "Hey," he called out, his voice flat and artificial. "You dropped something." I didn't look up, didn't answer, just pushed dirt that wasn't there. "Hey," he said again, sharper now. "Come back." My pulse slammed against my ribs. My mouth went dry. Still, I kept moving. "You dropped your face," he growled. That stopped me cold. Then came the laugh, if you can even call it that. It started high like a giggle, then dropped into a thick choking sound, like someone laughing with a throat full of water. It echoed off the empty booths and broken ride panels like a children's playground collapsing. I bolted. I didn't think. I just ran. I didn't look back. At 1:16 p.m., I stopped. He was gone. That night, I couldn't sleep. Again. The park didn't have clocks, but I knew it was close to midnight when the wind picked up. Finally. It rattled the cabin walls, whispered through the cracks like it was trying to say something. I sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the list of rules I had taped to the wall. That's when I noticed something was off. There were 8 rules now. I didn't remember a new letter. I didn't remember writing anything down. But there it was, typed in the same font, same spacing, like it had always been there. Number 8, if your reflection frowns when you smile, hide. Do not let it follow you. I grabbed the original from my duffel bag, the one that came in the envelope. 7 rules, just like before. But the copy on my wall, there were 8. The paper even looked aged, yellowed more than it had been this morning. The corners curled like it had been hanging for years. I didn't have time to process it. because that's when something tapped on the window. Picture this. The room is ultra dark. You're pressed against the sofa cushions by a strong man with his wet tongue stroking your neck. The sofa and cushions are not that soft, and your head is turned, stretched even, facing just the right angle to stare out the window and into the neighbor's lit-up attic. There, a shimmering light glows up the face of a doll. It is so far away that you can't make out any of its expression. It becomes a game for you to make out what its face is telling you. But no matter how many times you get pinned against that sofa, you never figure out what it tries to tell you. It has been 11 years. I am now 21 years old, an outsider trans girl, turned barista for a company that sells primarily to white cis mall babes. I have been planning to retake my rightful first steps into adulthood with my best and only childhood friend, Kyle. Yeah, he lives every bit up to his name, a hype beast who peaked during his high school football years and DJs for a trashy nightclub. He acts relentlessly like he has been force-fed Monster Energy drinks since he was an infant, when really it's probably ADHD. His dad, Bob, loyally has promised to pick us up from the nightclub at midnight when Kyle's playtime is over, for our safety. Bob's a Bob, the same way Kyle's a Kyle. A man who could be anyone, so his friends, colleagues, and family had to nickname him Bob the Builder, which distinguishes him. He works construction, and I guess people have always thought of him as stereotypically kind and normal. My parents have heritage in the Middle East. They fight loudly and regularly and are not well liked around our block. Luckily, my partner and older brothers have turned out better people so far. So we automatically stick out. And since tonight is my first time going out, I've had to keep it a secret from them. I hang out with Kyle after my shift ends, going to random local thrift stores. We're about to exit the most moldy-smelling one when a fat doll pops out of nowhere. It looks like it has been sitting there, collecting dust for the past 11 years. I know it isn't the right one, the one from the attic, even though I was never able to read its expression. Its hair, clothes, and shape are too recognizable for it to be any other. Finally, seeing its expression up close feels like a sudden anticlimax. It has gone from a hazy mystery to an average-looking vintage doll, staring right back at me. Without letting Kyle know why, I buy it. Perhaps I don't know the reason myself, why I feel like I should own it. Where would I even put it? I still live at my parents'. We don't have time to go back to my place, so we head straight to the nightclub where Kyle will be practicing. Since he's still new and we have a couple of mutual friends there who co-own it. What the fuck is that? Is the question of the night, referring to the 3-pound heavy baby I'm carrying around awkwardly. Sorry, that's our new friend. I forgot to introduce you, I say. Who the fuck brings a doll to a nightclub anyway? Kyle is not happy about it, being my opposite in many ways, as straight and masculine as a hammer or spanner. When they start with the drinks, I am sober in the most epiphany kind of way. That is, I simultaneously care less and less about how I stick out and feel like I don't belong there. And really am glad that I don't get hammered by alcohol the way that they do. My fat doll becomes attractive to their drunk minds, a genuinely amusing plaything that gets passed around in a circle, used mockingly as a Lolita and less offensively as a hostage to their strong and sour alcoholic breath. I give in to their caricatured self. The tension around my neck loosens up, and I too engage in their mockery and silly dancing. At some point, I forgot to keep track of time and check my phone for new messages and notifications. People stream in like silverfish on a bathroom floor until the club is filled with people in slick and shiny clothes. The pumping loud music is making me feel dizzy, even though I've had nothing but free tap water all night. Kyle introduces me to a girlfriend of his I've never met. She's cool, goth, and her eyes pierce deep into my soul as she pulls me onto the dance floor, leaving my doll in Kyle's lap. He tells me that he has to go take a piss, and I answer, "Well, bring the doll and just don't take a piss on it then, Kyle." He smirks. The night is gone like that. Any frustration, any concern, evaporates into the thin, oozing smoke penetrating by colorful laser beams. A hard pounding in my chest, a gleeful smile in front of me, and my matching rhythmic dance moves to those of a new friend. And then the screams, the kind that doesn't belong here. Guttural, panicked, someone just fucking died kind of screams. Reality hits me like a bowl of ice water. Groups of people push to the exit. I have no idea where the panic arose from, but I know I have to follow them outside. I'm pushing past them aggressively. Kyle's friend is gone. I throw my elbows to rush faster and make space. I check my phone. It is midnight. It is midnight. Where did I leave Kyle? Where did Kyle go? People exit in different directions, but I know where to go because Kyle's dad should be here by now. So I go to where we had arranged for him to pick us up, to the side of the club, a small parking area lit by flickering streetlights. People are running away from there, leaving a body behind on the asphalt, with a man kneeling, screaming his name. "Kyle, no, 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 my son. No, no, no." I run to them, unaware of any danger or sensation other than that my heart is in my throat. Electricity shoots bolts through my body. He's dead. He has no face. It's replaced by mossy red matter. He's soaked in a pool of blood. His dad doesn't even notice me. "I am so sorry," I say, as if it's my fault that Kyle is the one who is dead. Bob still didn't hear me. Other people come and try to pull him away from the body, and sirens ring discordantly. I go to the shadowed wall of the nightclub, throw up water, and turn around to see, once again, just far enough out there in the distance, my doll lies with its face turned towards me, hollow in its expression, almost menacingly. I wished I could say my story ends there, alongside Kyle's, but it doesn't. 3 hooded men wearing masks were spotted running away from the crime scene after having beaten, kicked my best, and only, friend to death outside his workplace. No one got caught. No one got punished. It has been 6 years. I used to scoff at movies featuring creepy killer dolls because it always felt like mine saved me. But now I believe it. This doll of mine was there with him, stained with a single drop of blood on its cheek, a testimony to what it witnessed. It was my fault, it said. And then I slowly walked past the small crowd taking care of the body and the body's father. I picked it up from the ground and thought, this is my fault. I'm going to take that home with me, all the blame. I see it now. This is my fault. On the 6th anniversary of his death, I make a quick call to my parents and siblings to let them know that I care for them and appreciate them for having respectfully supported me and letting me live with them up until I got my own apartment, which was a month ago. I quit my low-pay job, and I turn on the gas oven and open it, ready to put my head inside. I have thought about it a lot so that I don't mess it up. There is something so poetic about dying like Sylvia Plath, a woman whose soul was haunted despite the love she also received during her life. I am reminded then, in that moment, of the back street cat that has peered through the window since the first night I moved in, which I reluctantly opened for it and let into my apartment for a cup of almond milk. If I'm to end what I have here to get a sense of peace, to bury the endless black noise that has occupied my brain since Kyle's death, I am not taking an innocent cat with me. So I go into the living room, blow out a candle, and close the window to the streets where a strong wind is whooshing. As I do it, I hear the sound of the door to the kitchen slamming behind me. The air cracks, and I hear a low rumbling as something erupts behind me. The room shakes, glass splinters fly, and a wave of heat hits my back. I am knocked over. My head hits the ground with a loud thump. I wake up in the hospital to my dad sitting next to me. He is eating shawarma, probably from his place downtown, which makes the whole room smell strongly of homely spices. I feel nauseous, but mostly because I realize that my demise was not the one I had hoped for. How does one go about explaining what I had tried to do? Excuse it? There is no way to do that. Instead, I stare at the doll placed on the cupboard in front of me. Parts of its face are burned, but the body is very much intact and the same. Oh, my dad says, as he notices the subject of my attention. They did not manage to save much from the fire, but it's so ugly. They should have left it. It is an ugly doll for sure. That thing is haunted. Maybe it never saved me. Maybe it has been there at every bad moment of my life because it was the reason for them. It is the cause of bad things happening around it. I want to get rid of it, and I know I can't. If it could die, I knew it would have died in that fire. You would think things could only go downhill from here. At the hospital after a failed suicide attempt, with basically no income, no place to live, having to move back to my parents, having to experience my family silently judging me at the peak of the aftershock? Yeah, I don't think so. I spend the next few months facing my new realities, such as that due to the fire, most of my back is scarred, including the backside of my head, where my long, beautiful hair will never be able to grow again. Some of my chin is scarred, my neck is scarred, and a lot of my arms and legs. I look like someone's nightmare, and I don't know how any wig or makeup could ever save this. I get rejected at every job interview, getting embarrassed and spooked looks from the interviewers and the people in the streets, even after having spent hours in front of the mirror trying to piece my skin and body back together into something recognizably human. The doll turned out better than me, I think. I guess that is when I decided to make a change. Instead of reversing my life into societal norms, I am going to completely destroy any sign of them. I am tired of this body and this mind. There are only a few things I have been definitively good at anyway. And if I stay, I want to fulfill that revenge I sought out in the first place. My only and depressing regret is that I got the wrong person killed. Technically, the beating was only supposed to land Bob, Kyle's dad, in the hospital. I was too much of a coward to ask the small group of white druggies from the edge of our suburb to finish the deed after I paid cash. Naturally, I had saved up and withdrawn money from the bank ever since I started working my first job at 16. I just guessed they took it too far and got scared when they realized they jumped the wrong family member. Bob and Kyle do look somewhat alike, as fathers and sons typically do. I haven't heard or seen them since, and I don't care to, because I don't blame them. It is me who was responsible for looking out for Kyle, me who hired them, knowing their history and not at all caring if it would have turned out the same for Bob, splashed out on the street for all to see. Maybe I sound insane, but that is what he made me feel. Wrong and worthy of destruction for the reason of existing. For years, I would escape my parents' fights by going to Kyle's and finding comfort in how much more average-looking and ideal his home life appeared. We played games on his PlayStation. Kyle even got me to play ball games with him, and we chatted about life and everything cool and not cool, deep and not that deep. Kyle's parents were happily divorced, and since his mom was a career lady, Kyle naturally favored staying with his dad. I never saw Bob around much because he, too, would work pretty late. But when I came over at night, because of my parents, things started to change. He would never leave me and Kyle alone, out of sight, except to bring us ice cream from the fridge and soda. He seemed like a perfect dad, probably too perfect. And then one day, it was like he flipped the switch. His face grew more serious as he asked first Kyle and then me to undress. Kyle's face blushed with redness. I couldn't stand looking at him. He tried to ask his father if they could do it later, alone, privately. I both understood what was about to go down and had no clue what it meant. He didn't seem to force Kyle to do anything. Kyle appeared as if he went along with it, while I stood there frozen. "You too," Bob would say, sneeringly. Petrified, I removed my clothes like he told me to, and I felt myself distancing from my body, which was wrapped in cold air and goosebumps. Sometimes he did both Kyle and me. Sometimes he did only me and made Kyle watch. I still couldn't stand looking at Kyle. So there I stretched my neck, looking out the window into the neighbor's house attic across the street at the doll that I now own. I don't know why I ever went back. If it was for Kyle's friendship, if it was the desperate belief that everything else about his home life was perfect and better than mine, if it was because I felt that, even though what Bob did to my body hurt and left me feeling dirty and shameful, I still somehow felt that it was so much more better than the lack of control in my own house. Somehow, the act of going back felt like I did have a sense of control, and that it was rewarded in the end with Kyle's lifelong friendship. Now Kyle is dead because of me. I had arranged that night out where we would meet to get picked up, made sure that it was Bob who would come get us, and showed the gang members who to go for, while I would be dancing the night away with Kyle. Obviously, I knew it would hurt him emotionally, but I trusted my gut that it was for the better, because Kyle still lived at home, and I still saw the way he acted around his dad, timid and uncomfortable when he got up close to him. I knew that it was right, but I messed up everything, and I have to do it over. I have found another strategy. Bob wasn't only interested in kids, he was also interested in hookers. Here I find myself unable to get past a job interview for a normal job, and I must go rogue. I tell my family that I am safe, but I am going to be away for a while. They try to hold me back, but they can't refuse, because I am my own adult. It is depressingly easy to get into prostitution today. One contact becomes your ad, and suddenly, you're sold like a cheap car on Craigslist. So much for self-empowerment and feminism. I don't have any clothes I consider slutty, but I find out that it doesn't matter. They'll treat you the same, and all the sexual trauma awakens, rushes down my spine and keeps my body stiffened like I am in electrotherapy, breathing through my teeth. The greedy sensations, the foul smells, the taste stuck in the back of my throat that I will be washing away with soap in the bathroom later. And the best part, I can't stop. That is what I was made for. And it all crescendos the day Bob becomes my client and takes me home. It's been a while, he says. I tell him to shut up. My voice has grown up. What? He says anyway. And I tell him that I don't want him to make me remember. All right, he answers. Over the next many years, I willingly see Bob. Bob becomes my client and I become his. Sometimes he makes me dress up as Kyle in his old clothes, all of which I know by heart. And sometimes he tears up and asks me to just sit with him and hold his hand. I don't know which makes me feel more ill. When I fuck Bob, I make sure to make him feel loved, seen, and heard. I do everything that he wants me to. It is like I am his doll. This is a punishment for both of us, I think, fittingly. My life has turned into our life. We are one side of the same coin, the victim and the perpetrator. He buys me things and asks me out, too. We lie in bed after fucking, and I let him cook breakfast for me in the morning. By the time Bob is in his late 60s, we are in a loving relationship, and I no longer have ties with my family. And by loving, I mean, I hate every single inch of your skin, but I will tolerate you until it's time. Because one day, he will die by my hands too. He frequently talks about marrying me. A discreet marriage, of course. Not because I am the childhood friend of his dead son, and much younger, but because I am a trans girl. His colleagues, of course, can't know. I don't reject him, but I appear reluctant. I don't want him to know that I want the marriage to happen too. So by the time we are officially and discreetly married, I am ready to finalize our time together. Serving by serving, I put a little bit of rat poison in his drinks. He falls ill, pale as a white sheet and wet with heavy beads of sweat. His lips are bluish. He throws up a lot. I keep it going. Serve him just enough to keep him ill for extended periods and drag it out. But make sure there are periods when his health is better and he can return to work to avoid suspicion. It is a slow process, but this is what I have waited for. I realize that I do not find joy in seeing him die slowly, but there is something else that makes it worth it. Like the tense pause between the end of a performance and a standing ovation. He coughs, gets slimy. He is the most disgusting he has ever been, and I have seen the worst of him. He wants sex, and I pretend to pity him when I say no. I simply cannot. I know the torture has to end when he is bedridden for several weeks. The workplace keeps calling, and he is coughing up blood. I have to give him a proper dose and end the misery, despite how every nerve in my body tells me to extend it and keep pushing, keep seeing how far I can make him go. I know that it has to end. The fat doll, which I have placed on a bookcase next to his bed, stares at us as I sit next to him and give him his final dose of arsenic. I am scared, he says. Don't you think you should call the doctor? I open his hand and run my finger in circles on his rough palm. No, I don't think I will. With caution, I proceed to remind him that a real man owns his illness and doesn't succumb to it. A man's illness is his, and only his, problem. And if he makes it anybody else's, well, then he is no better than said illness. Bob's teary eyes look at me for help. I want you to know, before you pass, that it was me. All those years ago, with Kyle, I arranged for someone to get hurt that night. He blinks and his gaze flickers around as if he is tracking a fly darting the room. What do you mean, with Kyle? His old voice is so much more fragile, like a whimper, than I expected. He almost sounds innocent. I mean that I killed your son, I say, and he reluctantly laughs in an uncomfortable smile. It was supposed to be you, for raping me and for raping Kyle, for everything you did to us, you disgusting pig. I can feel my voice and hand tremble as I recollect my memory. All of what has been boiled up, unsaid. No words have enough color or edge to give life to that. Yet I want him to believe what I said. And it appears he is fumbling, beginning to see a picture he never even remembered. Remember how eager I was for you to come and pick us up at the nightclub? How I had it planned for months, and those 3 men who got away. I paid them for years' worth of work salary. Oh yeah, I messed up with that. It wasn't supposed to be Kyle. I suddenly find myself choking up before realizing my cheeks were already wet with tears. He was my friend. I didn't even want anyone dead. I just wanted you to hurt. I cry, gasping. I needed you to feel so hurt. Please, why did you do it? I asked. Through my blurred vision, I see his face distorted, too, in a sad frown with ugly tears and snot running down his face. It feels like I am looking at the real Bob, caught in shame and self-pity, and I can't tell if he is crying for me, for himself, or for both of us. I stop myself from squeezing his hand and let go. He eyes the empty cup of arsenic at his bedside. How long? He says. No, I think. This is not about you, Bob. But he thinks so. In the exhausted breath of a loser, I sigh and stand up. I no longer look at him. I'm staring at my doll. Bob is not healthy enough to get up himself and call for help. Call for anything. He may live for another hour, maybe for another day. Nobody stops by for him anymore. As I leave Bob to die alone in excruciating pain, I am comfortable knowing that I will be somewhere else, and that when his neck tightens and he angles his head to scan the room for help, he will find himself in just the right position to lock eyes with the faceless doll I leave behind. And that, dear listeners, brings a close to a disturbing Halloween. I would like to take a moment and thank the other members of Back to Ashes. Thank you all so much for your continued dedication and support. It does not go unnoticed. As I always like to say, without you, I wouldn't have a voice, and I would be sitting here alone talking to myself. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. If you are sleeping, I hope Slumberland is treating you comfortably. If you're awake, I hope you've enjoyed this collection. Until next time, please stay vigilant and please stay safe out there. I'll be reading to you soon. Have yourself a good morning, a good afternoon, or a good evening. Peace, love, and light to you all.